Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another deck profile. Today I'm here with Mike, who actually was on the channel not too long ago. How's it going, Mike?
Good, good. I say long day yesterday, but it's good though.
Yeah, seriously, that webcam tournament was long, man. But congratulations, you got third place with Jiren, dude. Like, it's so funny because I was just talking about Jiren on the channel. My teammate Russell had a build and we talked about it and stuff. And then you go ahead and top with it. Like, it's so funny. But I mean, Jiren, I think, is pretty slept on. Like, what made you want to play this leader?
Honestly, last year I didn't get to go to Daylan Max tournament, his TOP tournament, and I would have played Jiren at that tournament. It was my game plan, but I just couldn't. I couldn't get the time off from work because I teach. So, and then COVID hit, and I never got to play the deck. So I was like, damn, that's just a waste of a deck at this point.
Right.
And then, me and my boy Jimmy on our podcast, we were asking we play like non-meta decks in this upcoming webcam. And I was like, well, I just played Jiren because I've always wanted to play it in a tournament. So I played it, and here we are.
Very cool. I mean, I think it really is a slept-on leader because, like, I think when you're looking at, like, modern DBS, like, if you want to play something a little bit off-meta but still want to be able to compete, like, you need a leader that does something powerful. And Jiren, like, just straight up negating damage for an entire turn, I think definitely qualifies for that type of thing.
Yeah, I think that he allows you to outplay your opponent. Like, his effect of just... he's Baby Hatchiyak times 3, pretty much. That's how I view it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep.
So, like, it gives you 3 turns to outplay your opponent. Like, that's powerful. I don't care what my opponent's playing. I got 3 turns to beat you. You better figure out what you're going to do to survive while I'm doing everything I'm going to do.
Yeah, and one of the ways you set that up, obviously, is, you have to have a U11 on the board, and these guys right here, Casserole, Kunshi, and Vuyan, those are obviously some of the main ways you do that. And one other thing that's kind of funny, too, is, like, back then, during, like, TOP format, when this deck came out, Cooler was played a lot more, which actually could, like, snipe your little guys, but now there's not really much that removes these guys. So did you ever come across a situation where your opponent actually could, like, deal with your Kunshi or that kind of stuff?
One time in top 8, actually, I played Reboot Gohan, and he had the Grade 8 SCR,
Okay.
and he popped my Kunchi off to win a game. But normally, to play around that, you just play Rehearsal and a Kunchi out. And when they pop Kunchi off, if they have a way, right?
Yeah.
Like if they use their Demigra Unison, they pop Kunchi off, and then they try to find a way to get rid of Rehearsal. Rehearsal will play another Kunchi out the deck, which just resets it. And no deck has that much barrier removal to just keep on doing it. So it's really just like making sure Rehearsal's set up to protect the Kunchi.
Gotcha, yeah, you can kind of just, like, stack them that way. And if you have multiple Kunchis, I mean, it's going to be really, really tough for your opponent.
If you open 2 Kunchis, you're just golden. Like, there's no way you're going down.
Gotcha. Alright, so usually I save, like, the win condition towards, like, the end of the video, but this is, like, the number one reason I wanted to do this with you. I mean, besides the fact that you got third place. What on earth made you want to play Item Mastery and Jiren? Like, I'm sure there's a great reason for it, but, like, you gotta admit, like, just seeing it, it sounds, like, crazy.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy. The thought that went through my head, right? I was like, all right, what can Red Broly do against a 35k dual attack triple strike? Because they're normally at 3 life. If you've played against Red Broly, you know they're at 3 life a lot of the time.
Right.
I was like, can they combo out of this card? Was my big question. I was like, if I rest their boss, can they combo out of this? There's no way they combo out of it. All right, this sounds good. And I was like, Dark Broly, can they get out of the triple strike also? I was like, yeah, but if I play Cell or Mirror beside it, there's no way they're getting out of this. So I was like, all right, I'm down. If the 2 best decks in the room can't beat HOM, I'm in there. I was like, everything else is whatever, because my leader effect is just going to take care of their decks. So that was the logic behind it. And nobody plays blue, so I didn't have to worry about Path being trumps back to my hand.
Right.
I was like, no one's playing blue. Like, that's not even a thing right now in the format. So I was like, sure, I'll just play that, ignore the fact that blue that's not in the room, and everything else I'm good against.
That's really cool, dude, because, like, when I looked at this initially, that's what I thought about. I was like, yeah, blue can, like, trunks your Goku, but, like, no one's really playing blue right now. It's really safe against green because Path has barrier and Height of Mastery is an 8-drop, so that's obviously really good. And yeah, I like the rationale a lot against Red Broly and Dark Broly. You know, you would generally think, like, oh, why would you ever want to tap out for 3 against, like, an aggro deck? But your leader literally extends the game, so that's actually a really, really cool thing. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and then, like, having the cells that go on top of HOM is just wild. That's quad attack. It's wild.
Yeah, when you play like a boss monster that big, like if you actually play the Jiren boss monster as well, like you just have such big dudes that like get you into Cell Xeno super easily.
Yeah, I did it on stream to the Bulma player actually. I set up path, and then like he took turn 4 off from doing anything because of my effect that he was scared of path. So I played 2 more U11 cards, and he couldn't get rid of them. And I was like, all right, cool, I'll Jiren you, and took off all his energy but 1 and a bunch of his cards, and then I pathed him for game the following turn. So
very, very cool. And then so you have 4 Zamasu super combo, 4 Bergamo, and 3 Poutine. So most lists play like 2 Poutine generally. Some lists even play 1. You played 3. So did you just want to have Poutine like all the time?
Yeah, you want to open it. If you open it against Dark Broly and Red Broly and Vegex, they probably can't beat you. So like, I just want to see this card. I want to open it and see this card. Bergamo is terrible. I'm going to be honest. It doesn't do any. It doesn't in this version of the deck. It doesn't do anything. Turn 2, you were never going to play it, like realistically. And turn 3, I'm playing Path to Greatness a lot of times, so I'm tapped out right there. And in turn 4, I could play it, but there's other plays that could be done on turn 4, so it really doesn't come up too often. I played Bergamo 0 times yesterday.
That kind of makes sense. That kind of makes sense because it seems like you're playing a much more proactive like yellow deck, right? Like, a lot of times yellow is very reactive. Your version is very proactive, so that kind of makes sense, I guess. And then for some of our other big hitters, we have 3 Basil, of course, one of the best 1-drops in yellow. That makes a lot of sense. 4 Raiders Warcry. So a lot of yellow decks are starting to chop down on Raiders. But I was talking to Russell about this, and he's also playing 4, so I want to see if you have the same opinion. You know, with Jiren, where you can just, like, tap out safely, playing 4 Raiders isn't really too big of a problem. And that makes sense a lot in your build, too, because, like, you're tapping out for Path. You can also tap out for HOM and probably still survive. So how did Raiders do for you over the weekend?
It was the superstar of the deck, actually. It buys you an extra turn most of the time when you play Path to Greatness. So on turn 3, when you play Path, and then you're going to take a life, so you go down to 3. On turn 4, you just do a little bit of stuff and pass with your energy open. Your opponent is then forced into a situation where either they have to try to do damage to you and make you activate your effect, or just like attack with their leader and some garbage play, you just Warcry out of it. And now I didn't even have to expend a life, and I just bought myself 1 more turn. So it was nuts. I loved it. It was my favorite card of the weekend, actually.
Very cool. That's funny to hear because like so many people are starting to like really hate on Warcry, but I think like so much of yellow right now is just like player preference because people are still trying to kind of figure out like how yellow can kind of fit in this meta because it hasn't been doing much over the past few months.
It's your only way out of BMS for the most part, so I don't understand why you wouldn't play it. Like, BMS is a huge problem for a lot of these yellow decks. You're trying to cheat cards into play because your cards are expensive. Like, if you're playing Angelia in the Slug from the Slug package or anything of that nature, or the Cohersal playing the Kunchi, I need a way out of it. So Raider Warcry lets you clear BMSs easily. So I don't see why you would not play 4. You can always just charge it if you're like, I don't have time.
That makes a lot of sense in Jiren, especially because yeah, like you need to get rid of BMS for your Castrol stuff. And then this one Chilled. So is this like a cute tech, or like is there a big reason behind this card?
No, it's a pretty big reason behind it. So on turn 5, I go for the kill shot normally. If they, depending on what line I take, Chill finishes the game a lot of times. If I'm going for the mirror play, if they have the counter, I can use my Poutine to rest when their cards play Chill, so now I have 1 extra energy and Chilled, and I can still go for a game through Chilled. It's obviously not as big as Mirror, but HOM attacks have generally put your opponent in a spot where their hand's small anyways. Right. So putting a Chill to like 65, 70 is probably game. So it's pretty much just the backup to Mirror FDC not working in that spot.
Gotcha. And now we'll talk about that. So you're bringing back the old school combo. We got Mira, Champa, Swift Retaliation, Cooler. So you just kind of talked about how this is like an alternate line to go alongside Hidden Mastery. How often did this combo win you the game? Was it a lot of the time or kind of like niche?
It won me the game more often than Cell Zeno did.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, because you have to draw Cell Zeno, right? I played 1 Cell, 1 Mirror as if they were both like SCRs in my deck. Mm-hmm. But realistically, you're going to hit one of them at that point, and all you need to do is see 1 in the deck, because the Mirror goes well beside HOM. Because if they go down to 1 off of one of the HOM attacks, Mirror for game. That works. So the Cooler, I didn't activate too often, but I did Mirror FDC frequently. The Cooler is just, it's there as reinsurance. On turn 3, if I realize I don't have an HOM play, and I don't think I can get to Cell for some reason, I'm going Cooler Mirror FDC as my win con.
Man, one of the oldest and scariest win cons in the game. It's always a little frightening when this thing makes a resurgence, but it makes a lot of sense for sure. And then just wrapping up the main deck here, 2 Goku Last Draw, 4 BMS, and 3 Final Flash, Vegeta's Final Flash. So BMS, I'm curious about, because I think BMS is actually like incredible in set 12, because like every single set 12 deck has a problem with BMS. But I feel like more of the set 11 decks kind of don't. Like you have like Vegex, which don't like to see BMS, and like Red Broly kind of has like a inherent out to it. So why'd you want to main deck BMS?
I main deck BMS really because if they didn't have the Piccolo Jr., it would just win me the game against them, like on the spot. Like it was, but they had the Piccolo Jr. a lot of times, so it's not that good there. And you're right, it's terrible in set 11. I regretted playing. I sided it out a lot of the time, to be honest. I was like, I'm taking this out of my deck, but it's just it was safe to put in the deck, so I didn't mind. It was a safe put in, but it definitely wasn't that great. And then the Final Flash, I only played because I was scared of Invoker. The deck has an inherent weakness to Invoker because it's the big burn deck. You know, if they play the Rival Seeker, Catastrophic Blow combo.
Yep.
So I was like, I have to be ready for that deck in the main board because I don't want to lose game 1 and then them dragging me out in time in game 3 and we draw. So I mained the card, normally charging it because it wasn't good. And that's the reason why I mained the 2 Gokus, because I don't really use it too often, but it's very good against Invoker. It's applying that early pressure. So like moving forward, I would not probably play Dark Power Mass Saiyan in the deck, to be honest. I know it's real good against Turles in these decks, but you don't need it.
Yeah, I think you can definitely get away with sideboarding it. But it's not bad because like it doesn't actually mess with your colors, right? Like, I've seen Jiren builds that play a lot more black or play like, you know, some number of green or blue, like blue splash. But not really messing with your colors is definitely good.
Yeah, it doesn't mess with the colors. It's just I think there's better cards I could play, more impactful cards in the format. So I was like, I should put them in over it.
Gotcha. And I'll kind of just let you walk us through the side deck. You got a lot of cool options here, so why don't you explain that to us?
All right, so I'll start with the Absolute Justice Jiren. It's great against anything playing a slower game. So like I know people play Bulma. It's like kind of a rogue deck, but Bulma is played by people. So I was like, this card's good against Bulma. It's good against Sin Shinron. It's also good against Dark Broly because you get the time to set up 5U11s on the board against them. So it's going to win you the game against them a lot of times. The Freya Cry of Sovereign, that card was terrible. It was supposed to be Mutaito, but long story short, I was rushing the morning before I built the sideboard for the deck. I couldn't find my Mutaitos, so I said I need an out to opposing Cell Zeno. This is going to be my out. So I played that card. The Jiren Pride Universe 11 goes with the Absolute Justice Jiren. In games where I plan on using Absolute Justice Jiren, I wanted to make sure if my U11 cards went to the drop for some reason, I could get them back to just win the game. I played it 2 more Goku to double strike cards for Invoker for the most part, or anything that I would die to double strikes. Fu the Dark Banisher is great against Dark Broly. It auto wins the game because they can't combo out of it. Their leader effect to activate main to gain 5k, they're gonna have to give up warp a card out their hand.
Right.
So they lose their big hand real fast to try to get out of Dark Banisher. The Mechikuboras, they're really good against a large portion of the format, honestly. Yep. Like you just call if you know the format, you know where decks can get choked out the game. You just play Mechikibora and call the card that chokes them out. So I was like, that's golden. Crisis Crusher, the opposing BMS, I was like scared of it, so I was like, I wanted to play out to it outside of Warcry and Zamasu Super Combo resting it, then attacking it. So I played 2 Crisis Crushers, and then Max Power Kamehameha. It's good against Sin Shinron, but it's also just really pretty. Like my deck, all my decks are all max rarity for like, or they're all foil at least. I won't say max rarity because I guess some cards are more limited than others.
Yeah, the judge level 2s, we don't worry about that. We don't worry.
Yeah, but the max power is so pretty, and I gotta play it. And it's good against Sin Shinron, which Sin Shinron is very good against HOM if I do not have Final Flash. So it's like the 4th Final Flash in essence to remove Sin Shinron's like negate effect.
Gotcha. So that's the entire deck. I really do appreciate you taking the time to do this video with me. Any shout outs you want to throw out there?
I want to shout out my podcast, Herman Style Podcast. My boy Jimmy Bacon, we do it together. My boy Trevor over at Broken Honor on YouTube. I shout you out. I appreciate you having me back up here. It's always a pleasure being up here. And a shout out to George. If you watched the tournament in top 4, you probably see me not playing. George fixed that situation that happened. I appreciate him, talking to me and clearing the air about it. So I really appreciate that.
Very cool, man. We will definitely have that podcast link down in the description, so check that out. They do an awesome job there. Mike, thanks for your time. We'll see you next time.
See you later, Joey.